Hi, I'm Chris Thompson, Product Manager over Vacuum Excavation here at Ditch Witch, and today we're extremely excited to talk to you about the W12. It's the first in our Warlock truck series. So let's take a look at the truck first. The truck is on a 78,000 GVWR chassis. It has a 15-liter Cummins engine in it. And so those are both things we've spec'd out for this truck so that we can get you the maximum capacity on it. Plus you're going to have that 525 horsepower that 15-liter engine produces, so that you're going to have plenty of power on the job site. But let's talk about the vac itself. As you move down here, you'll come to your first cabinet. This is your control cabinet. So in here, you have your display. You can hit the button and it tells you your PSIs on your water, gives you all the information you need. There's also additional menus in here, so you can operate the vibrator, you can change your settings on your pump. Whatever you need to do, you can do from this display. But that's not the primary way we want to run this truck. We want to run this truck from the remote. So you have a remote here, and every function that you need to do on the truck, you can do it wireless from the remote. That way, whenever you're on the job site, you're not having to go back and forth from the truck to the boom to operate it. You have it here in front of you. But you do look and see, we also have an e-stop here. Then we have some buttons you will have to hit in the morning. In the morning, you'll have to turn your remote on or off. And then we have additional buttons you can use if you'd like. You have a heater mode. This is going to turn the heaters in your cabinets on and off. You also have a hydraulic cooler. It's preset to automatically come on, but if you were in some kind of a condition where you wanted to use that fan anyway, you could turn the fan on. You can also control your engine RPMs from here. You can control your water pump from here, and then increase the pressure on your water pump if you'd like. Additionally, in the cabinet, we have the scales. So we know that whenever you're working with a truck like this, a big question is, am I road legal? So we try to take the guesswork out of that by giving you a scale on board. It's going to give you the accurate weight of your load, so you know if you're going to be legal or not. Here's the charging pad for your remote. We'll put that back on. And then down here, you have extra storage. With the extra storage, we also provide an 8-to-6 reducer. So let's talk about that for a moment. You have plenty of dig tubes here on board. We start with the standard 8. We do allow you to neck down to a 6 if you'd like. The reason for that is, if you don't feel like you need the full 8 inches, we want that restriction to be at the point that you're digging, not somewhere up the system. So we have 8-inch plumbing through here, and then you can neck down to 6 with the reducer if you'd like. Stepping down the truck, you have your glycol tank. Extremely important to make sure you're glycoling your system at the end of the day, particularly in the extreme cold. You look down here and there's also a cyclone clean out. You can hook up and blow out your cyclone filter, which is on the other side. We'll get to that in a moment. And then you have your water fill tank. So these water fill tanks are pretty interesting in that they're set up to fill both sides of the truck at the same time evenly, and they're also set up to fill front to back evenly, which helps keep the balance of the truck where we want it to be. We also have some storage for signboards, so if you need to take some signboards to the job site, we've set up storage in that for you. And then you have the boom itself. Now this boom will swing out. It has 26 feet of reach and has 320 degrees of range. You'll notice there's 2 positions for the boom. Currently it's in the stow position. This is the position you'll want the boom in whenever you're mobiling the truck. The outside position is the dump position. You'll move the boom to this position when you want to raise or lower the tank, or when you want to raise or lower the door. The reason we do this is to move the boom safely away from the cabinets so that you can raise and lower it without interference with the truck. All right, let's talk about the remote operation. First thing you do, hold red, hold green, release red, release green. Now your remote's going to be on. Now you can run your functions. Your functions here, your vac on and off, your water on and off, your boom raise and lower, your boom swing are all going to be on your primary screen. If you want to do a secondary screen function, you'll need to press and hold the green button. This will allow you to raise and lower the tank. This will allow you to change the water pressure. This will allow you to change the RPMs on your truck. The reason we want you to hold this green screen is these need to be intentional actions. And so we want you holding the green button down to make these actions happen, not something that you might accidentally hit inadvertently. One important feature we want to make sure we discuss on the truck is how to turn the vacuum on and off. And so what you do is on the remote, you can hit the vacuum on button. It's going to close this butterfly valve that you can see here. It's important to note when that is in the closed position, then the vacuum is potentially on, so you need to be aware of that. To be able to turn the vacuum off or to relieve pressure on the system, you hit the vacuum off button, that valve will open. So that valve opens, that prevents the truck from getting vacuum. It also relieves the vacuum pressure that could be on the tank. So you want to make sure you open that up, and that's going to relieve your pressure in your system. When you address the system, if the valve is open, the vacuum is not on. If the valve is closed, the vacuum could potentially be on. Also, the strobe at the back that we'll show you will flash orange to tell you that the vacuum's on. Let's talk about the vibrator controls on here. To run the vibrator, you hit the escape button, it'll go to vibrator, you hit OK. So you have your cycles here. You'll notice that each cycle runs for 10 seconds. So you can set it to 2, 3, 4 seconds, they're going to run in 10-second intervals. That's 10 seconds on and then 10 seconds off. The reason we do that is we don't want this tank to vibrate and cause damage. We just want it to vibrate enough to shake the debris loose. That's how you run the vibrator. Moving down the truck, you have the water cabinet. So in the water cabinet, you're going to have your boiler. Your boiler is a Dynablast boiler. It's 420,000 BTUs. The thing about a boiler is you want to use it in cold weather and the frost, everyone understands that. The other thing is if you're in like a compacted clay or some kind of a hard ground, go ahead and turn that boiler on. That hot water is going to help loosen things up and move it faster. So when you think about digging, you don't want to use more pressure. You want to use more heat to help loosen things up. The pressure is going to get you away from that safe digging we're wanting you to do. The heat will help you maintain that safe PSI, but also help you move that material faster. Looking down, you have the controls for the boiler. Then you have your water pump here. The water pump is a Prattisoli 20 GPM pump. The reason we went with a 20 GPM pump is because you have the back reel and the side reel. What you want to be able to do is get 10 GPM at both of those, and so that's how we set this up. If you're using just one of the reels, you'll get 10 GPM at that reel, and then the rest of the water will recirculate back into the tank. Down here we have our hose for the side reel. We have 100 feet of hose reel. It is pneumatically actuated, so you pull it out, and at the end of the day, when you want to roll it back in, you just hit this button, brings it back in for you. Also, we have our digging lances here. So our digging lances, we send you with a standard prospector nozzle, and we send you with a straight edge here. This is for breaking into the ground at the beginning, and then once you've done that, you want to switch over to your prospector. We spec these with an 8-inch nozzle, and the reason we do that is we want you to be able to control your water flow better, and so you have 10 GPM, but then we neck it down to 8. You can look at a different nozzle configuration if you feel like that meets your needs better. 8 is what we send you with. Also, you'll notice in all these cabinets we have this heat exchange here. This is intentionally designed into the truck to provide some extra heat and to keep all the liquids moving and to keep it nice warm when you're running this in the cold area. It keeps things nice and warm. Here you have your sight glasses for your water tanks. Let's talk about the water capacity on the truck. 1,200 gallons of water, 600 on each side. Now we'll get to the spoils tank, but the spoils tank is a 12 cubic yards tank, roughly 2,400 gallons. That's intentional. We want to have enough water here to get the job done and fill up the tank, but not more than you actually need. And so we intentionally spec that ratio that way. Looking down here, you have your heated crossover tube that we talked about while we have the heated valves on here. And then here's a dump tube. Here's a toolbox. So this is the standard truck setup. Everything you see on this truck today is how a truck will come with standard. You do have some options available that we'll get into a little bit later. One of them is the van air. If you go with a van air system, you'll drop the toolbox and then the van air compressor will go right here. So you'll notice that we have work lights on the truck. We have them on the side cabinets. We have them in the back of the truck. There's also work lights on the boom. That way, when you're ever in the winter and you're working later, when it starts getting dark earlier, you're gonna have plenty of lighting on this truck. It's gonna light up really nice so you can continue to work those long hours. Here at the back of the truck, we have a couple things we wanna make you aware of. The first one is this auxiliary box here. So you open it up and here's all your auxiliary controls. As we mentioned, you can run everything from the remote, but should you ever need to, you can manually operate all the hydraulics here as well. Everything from your tank lift to your door lock, to your door open, the boom lift, the swing, the extend, anything you need to run, you can run from here as well. So you'll never be dead in the water because your electronics didn't work on you. Also, we keep this box heated as well, as we talked about earlier. And then you have another thing in here. You have your tank hoist, so you can lock out your tank. And then you have your bar here. So we'll show in the tank operation, you flip the switch and then the prop bar comes down. So if you need to work under the tank, there's a safe way to do that. Also, up top, we have the back reel for it. This is 80 feet of hose here. The way you get to that is you turn around here and you open this up and then it'll come out the back cabinet. Again, just like the side reel, we have the pneumatic operation here to reel it back in. When you're not using the back reel to hydro excavate, you can hook it up to the mister here. This mister will mist the tank so that if you're doing some kind of a dry substance or very dry material that you want to tamp down, you can run the mister into your tank and it's going to help knock that dust down inside the tank. So to raise the tank, you'll use the button on the remote to raise the tank, and then there'll be a switch here that you pull that will put the prop out. So if you need to work underneath the tank, you can safely have that red prop out. To retract it, you just hit the switch again, it'll pneumatically pull that prop back in. Here we have another e-stop, 2 e-stops on the truck, one at the control panel and the one here. The third e-stop will be off the truck, it'll be on the remote. And then you have your auxiliary hydraulics. Your auxiliary hydraulics are set to 12 GPM, but you can control the flow in here on the control box. Here we are at the back of the truck. A couple things we want to point out on this. Our truck has a fully lifting tank and a fully opening door. A lot of the tanks in the industry don't necessarily do that, but we felt like with our experience, that's the direction we wanted to go. So you have the saddle tanks on the side, you have the tank that lifts, and then the door that opens. With the water on the side in the saddle tanks, this makes the truck stable, makes it for a smoother drive down the road, and helps with stability while moving the truck around. But looking at the tank itself, you have the door stops here for when it opens, you have your dump valve here, you have an inlet valve in case you want to suck directly into the tank and not through the boom. You have a sight glass here. And you look at the top, you have working lights and you have directional arrows along with your backup camera. If you come down the truck, you'll see you have the boom access platform here on the left, and then you have your hookup for your trailer. We have a 20-ton pedal hitch on here, so you can tow something to the job site, whether that's an excavator, a drill, whatever you want to tow to the job site, you can also tow with this truck to the job site. You'll notice on the back of the tank, there are a bank of grease zerks. There are grease zerks that you'll need to do. Follow the maintenance schedule and the operator's manual, please. We put them in a central location for you so it's easy to get to. To access the boom platform, you'll need to be wearing a proper fall restraint harness. To begin the process, drop the step, then you will climb up the ladder and tie off at the fall restrictant anchor point. Once secure, pull the pin, move the safety railing towards the rear of the unit, then replace the pin. Now you're ready to work on the boom access platform. When you are finished, you'll do the reverse. Pull the pin, set the railing down, mount the ladder, put the pin in the stow position, unhook from the anchor point, and descend the ladder. If at any point you need to ground your truck, you'll notice that there are grounding stakes at the rear on both sides of the truck. Also, the tie-offs on the boom double as grounding points as well. So in the lighting on the back of the truck, you'll notice a strobe up top. When the strobe is off, the truck is off. When the strobe is white, that means that the remote system is activated. When the strobe is orange, that means that the vacuum is activated. You want to make sure you notice those three functions. Just below that, we also have the directional arrow board. So here we are on the driver's side of the truck. The first thing you'll notice is we have extra storage here in the back. So we have nice big lighted storage cabinets for you here and here, so you can put plenty of gear in here if you need to. And then moving down the truck, you'll notice that we put drainage tubes on both sides of the truck. That way, whenever you're needing to dump your fresh water, you can drain it evenly on both sides of the truck. The other thing we would tell you to do is turn them on, and then after it's drained for a little while, drop your suspension. That's going to angle the truck back just a little bit and help get these tanks completely empty. Moving down the side, you see we have the side saddle tanks again we talked about with the sight glass, same as the other side. So here we have a heated hand wash, and then you also have the cone holder. The cone holder does have a hole in here so that you can pin it out so that you don't have someone taking off with your safety cones. Then you get here to the safety cabinet. And so when you look inside the safety cabinet, what you'll notice is ear protection, an eye wash station. We have a first aid kit here. If you were to select air with your truck, this is where your air hose would go. You'd have air tools here as well. But we have an extension, and then we have your wash wand here as well. There's also a fire blanket here. Like the other cabinets, this one has a heat exchanger in it, so it is heated. You have hooks here so you can hang your work clothes here. And then we have the access to the solenoids. The one thing you'll want to know about this truck is you pull this bar down, you pull this out, and then back there is your solenoid bank. So when you're needing to diagnose something on your truck, you can access that for your solenoids, tell you what's going on with your truck. Here we have our filtration system. If you're familiar with our vacs, this will look very familiar. It's a cyclonic system. You have your heavies that drop out through here, and then you have the rest of the lights will go through the filter system, and then you have your silencer and your exhaust both here. While we're talking about the filtration, let's talk about the vac system itself. You have 5,000 CFM, 27 inches of mercury. When you see a competitive truck like this, a lot of times they won't have quite that spec. So let's talk about how we achieve that. We're using a transfer case system. We're kicking out the drive line, we're direct driving the blower, you have the hydraulics that are direct driven, so you're able to get maximum efficiency. Also, when you look at the truck, you'll notice that it's 10-inch plumbing all the way through to the boom, which allows us to achieve that 5,000 CFM and that 27 inches of mercury. Continuing down the truck, you'll notice that we thought a lot about the details on this truck. You have the DEF tank that's here, right next to the fuel tank. So whenever you're going to fuel up your diesel, you have your DEF right here, ready to go for you. All right, now we're in the cab. Let's talk about how to activate the blower and the hydraulics. The first thing you want to do is notice that the lights are amber. That means that nothing is on. So you'll push the buttons to turn the hydraulics on and to turn the blower on. Then you'll clutch in to 7 high. You want to make sure that you're using 7 high. That is the gear ratio we need to use when operating the truck itself. It'll go to green temporarily. Once you're engaged and fully operational, the buttons will turn to red. Red means that the drive shaft is spinning and the truck is now operational. You'll not be able to drive the truck, but the truck vacuum functions will work properly when it's red. Let's talk about a few other things you'll want to be aware of in the cab. If your lights are blue, that means that your boom is not in the cradle. If the lights are purple, that means your boom is in the cradle, but it's in the dump position. Also, if you go to drive the truck and you hear an audible alarm, that's telling you that your tank is not fully seated. So you'll want to stop and make sure the tank is fully seated down. So in the camera, we have 2 views. We have the rear view, and then you can hit the view button, and that'll take you to the side view. To operate the light bar in the back, you'll need to turn your beacons on. Once your beacons are on, then you can activate the power on the light bar, and then you can do the functions you'd like on the light bar. If you're in a situation where you'd like to leave the beacons on when it's time to power off, then you'll need to turn the power off here at the control panel. If you want to turn them both off, you can simply flip the beacon switch. That covers the high-level features and benefits of this truck. As you can tell, we're very excited to bring the W12 to the market and to you, our customers. One feature we need to make sure we talk about before we go, though, is the Ditch Witch dealer. Every one of these trucks comes with the same sales and service experience that you've come to enjoy and expect from a Ditch Witch dealer. If you're interested in learning more about one of these trucks, please contact your local Ditch Witch dealer. Thank you for your time.